Yes, indeed. Of course, you feel like there needs to be some explanations for our last message that we received from the collectives to provide for you. Of course, we know the two individuals who are of service for these sessions have not been triggered any which way, because that is messages of tough love that did not and have not been directed at them for a very long time as they have gone on their own journey. And so therefore they could see it as inspiration and truth given from a higher perspective. Tough love is always hard to handle when you're in denial. And so for those who have been profoundly triggered by those last information messages, of course, it was going to be hard for them to swallow. And that was the purpose. They have been avoiding and distracting themselves from their next step. For many, they have thought and assumed that once they could find balance, once they could find love of self and release all that no longer served them, that was it. That was the final destination. They could be on holiday here on this planet, enjoying their bonus days as if it was a luxury vacation. We would like to remind you that there is always room for service. And for many who think that they've already mastered it, and who have found themselves triggered now from our last previous message, it was because for many reasons they assumed falsely that they themselves were their farmer. They don't like to lose control over the thought of them having to answer to others. They have distracted themselves. They have put on blinders. They've not wanted to fully listen to our messages. They have not wanted to make and join the dots of connection. They have felt very comfortable being special, unique, and gifted, being star seeds or light workers or whatever other labels they've needed to boost themselves and their confidence being here now. The triggering, and we've always said triggering is a beautiful opportunity for growth. And many, and boy, have you mostly grown so much from those triggering, from those moments of triggering that we have provided for you, not once, not a few times, but often throughout many of these messages. We know that it's popular to say love and light and to say all warm and fuzzy things to inspire and motivate you. But it has to be also said that inner work and spiritual journey and of service to others is still hard work. It is still something that you must be doing diligently. And for those who feel frustrated that they are here of service and they're already impatient, intolerant, and have lack of compassion and consideration for others, they are struggling the most. And how dare we remind them that they still have to pull up their socks and be of service when they have wanted to feel victimized by just being here. They're wanting to have a ticker-tape parade. They're wanting humanity to celebrate them just simply for being here. You all signed up to be here, so why are you needing attention and support and a lot of ego-boosting collaboration of clapping of hands? You did not sign up to be here to be pompous in your status of being here to help humanity. You must help humanity first before you can justify that. And even those who truly are of service to help humanity don't need the gratification, don't need the followers, don't need the attention. You can see who is thirsty for attention and seeking approval from others versus the true light workers who are here, who diligently get on with their work and don't promote themselves. There is the many birds we could, many animals we could use to give example for your behaviors as you have moved forward with this information. Hearing us, hearing our higher perspective of information hasn't been just given to you for you to squander and to hold by yourself and to not share it and to not grow with it. And yet many have chosen to hold this information to themselves. We understand many people cannot hear the shift to New Earth. We understand that, but we're not asking you to do that, but that is your egos and your assumptions. So therefore, we are very willing today to be able to mansplain the information that we try to tell you about. So we have given Erin the due diligence of writing out these questions for us to slowly help you, because we know many of you are genuinely wanting help and assistance, knowing how to be of service. Many of you have assumed certain things that we're asking from you, so we're going to slow it down again and break it up again to be able to, for you to be guided, to be able to understand actually what we've been saying to you, not just this week, not just this month, not just this year. So we're going to be using labels because we're talking to humans who are addicted and love labels. We understand that we have to break it down for you, not to mock you, but to assist you. And so we are willing to be able to slow it down and simplify it, just so there is no misunderstandings and no mistakings of our information that we're trying to empower you with. So we understand that many of you have still the sting from us, and we did not mean to trigger you, and we hoped in fact that we didn't trigger any of you, because by now you should have been able to have done the things you needed to do to find the self-empowerment, to drop all that no longer serves you, and to truly be of service to help others, and know within yourself, know within your entire soul being that you are of service. So for those who have been triggered, you feel like you have been caught with your pants down and you're publicly urinating on your egos. So with much love and reminders that we do not judge, but we are trying to motivate you to be the best versions of yourself for you, not us, but we are wanting to help humanity, and we are wanting to remind you of what you signed up to do to help humanity also. Remembering we know your life contracts, we know your purposes to be here, and it is certainly not to distract yourself in 3D. It is certainly not to be materialistic and egoic with your beliefs of who you are and how important you are. And of course, yes, everyone is important, and yes, everyone is special. Yes, yes, yes. But comparing yourselves and the purpose of you being here now actually doesn't serve you, because some are slipping up and comparing themselves to others, and it really is foreshortening your emotional justification of why you should be doing any extra work when you see no one else around you doing any work, and you're fed up and you think, well, this isn't fair. So-and-so hasn't done any of their inner work. Why should I have to do mine? And we're saying, because this is exactly what you needed and wanted. This is so important for you to do it. And instead you complain and you complain and you complain, and you complain to us why things aren't going your way. And you complain to us how hard things are. And we're trying to remind you the easiest route, the easiest path for your life journey at this moment is to follow what your purpose is. So please continue with your questions, and we will be of assistance to try and help you the best way we can, remembering our aim is not to trigger you, but if growth is the only way that at this stage you can have the results of growth by us triggering you, if that's the only way you will be able to expand yourself, then so may it be.
Thank you. In the last session, I'm paraphrasing here, but You said something along the lines of step up to the truth or step up to your truth. And I understand there's some confusion with that, and I was hoping you could expand upon it a little bit more.
Yes, we wanted you to be able to share your truth and journey of how you've overcome being in fear. Remember, we don't care about how the events have had to unravel to get everyone awoken. For you, you are awoken. We're using these phrases and these labels to help explain. The fact that you're listening to us now is because you're aware of higher dimensional beings that are of systems and of service to help humanity, including those who are listening today. You have learned that there is more than just one lifetime. You have learned a whole lot of things on your spiritual journey. Remembering the 3D is about emotions, mastering emotions, not about fighting crime. You haven't signed up all here to be crime busters. You haven't signed up here to be dark agenda enforcers of the correction of law. You are not outlaws, or even, we want to say, we've used this analogy incorrectly, but you are understanding that you're not here as warriors to sniff out those who are creating the crime and drag them out in the streets and flame them. That would not be really your role, would it, as light workers who are helping humanity? Let's expand on this more. What do you think would be helpful for humanity when you know that humanity's experience here is to master emotions? Do you think that dragging out the truth of the corruptions and the control systems would help anyone find balance and neutral with their emotions? Do you think that those people who are struggling to cope with the current health scares that they believe is true and they are very, 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 very afraid of it, do you think while they're afraid of this current health situation, you should come running to them with the crimes against children and throw that in their faces to make sure that they're so overwhelmed with life that they give up hope that there is anything good in this world? Are you seeing vulnerable people afraid and are scared of health situations, and you think it's a fantastic time to load them up with other terrible things? Really? Because your ego is so what? Your ego is so focused on giving them the truth of everything that you see them struggling with the health situation and you think they look bored. I'll distract them from the health situation and I'll run and find, I can find lots of corruption in education systems, and I don't even know what the shape of the planet is, and I think there's some liars and some politicians. I'm going to find as much corruption and horrible things that humans have done to humans, and I'm going to find some other species that potentially have also harmed humanity. I'm going to collect up all this stress and trauma and trigger them. I'm going to come running back to them. And when they're trying to talk to me about how they're coping with the one thing that's in their face right now, which was the pandemic, and you look at your friend and you say, well, yeah, sucks to be you, but I've got so much other information I can't wait for you to freak out about, because I want to tell you the truth, because I love you, my friend. I love you, my family member, who's already overwhelmed with one thing. Let me be a light worker and help you. Can you see what so many good, intentional people have tried to do to their family who are already stuffed full of fear, already scared and confused, and so disempowered by all the systems you already know about? How is this being compassionate to those who are struggling. So when we say tell the truth and be of service, do you think telling the truth is about exposing the horrific experiences that humanity has had to endure this time on the planet ever since it went off track? Or do you think it is about sharing your truth of how to find the balance of emotions and to understand and acknowledge your truth? Yes, I was scared. Yes, I have been afraid. Yes, I did lose my hope. Yes, I have felt all those scary emotions when I learned about certain things. It's not about even talking about the events that has got humanity to this point of awakening. They are insignificant, but the emotions are very significant. And now, because you have fully loved yourself so much that you're not leeching out and demanding love from others, because you're self-sufficient, because you don't need confirmation that you're a good person from others. You don't need attention from others because you know you're a good person. So you're not trying to promote how amazing you are, how special you are because you're a star seed. Oh, you're a volunteer here. Oh, how fantastic. Do you see how many have slipped on their own egos? As soon as they have identified their specialness, that they are here to help humanity, and yet what have they done to help humanity? Let's break it down for them. Have you panicked your friends? Have you freaked out your friends? While you were on your journey to find the biggest truth you could and find balance there, did you run to your friends with all of the scary stuff and all the hidden agendas and the dark agendas? When you were freaking out, did you run to your friends and family with all of this truth and vomit all of that emotion and truth in such a way that it totally shut them down and totally shut you down, and they reacting in a most reactionary way that was not supportive of what you were needing from them? We see how you've all reacted to this information. We see how you have tried in your best judgment to awaken others. We see that that has not gone very well for most, as you have grabbed the information full of fear yourself and tried to sell fear information to others in the vein that you're going to help them, and the hope that this is going to empower them so then they can help you. So when you have been learning and discovering all of the broken systems and the hidden control systems that look very scary, yes, until you have found the journey of spirituality, knowing the biggest perspective, knowing why everyone had to be awoken at this time, why are you still getting triggered by health issues that are, in your deep wisdom now, really a misdemeanor? Why are you still reacting to this? Why are you still getting triggered over who is officially your politician, who is officially not your politician? Those are small 3D details to awaken those who need your support now. So for those who are in quotation marks awoken and yet still freaking out, obsessive over the details of what's going on and the systems that you already know are broken, we think that is a distraction for you, because you don't even know how to connect truly to your friends and family, because you're still, in most cases, pissed off and hurt that when you came running hysterical because of all these crimes against humanity, they didn't support you. So you're all miffed and offended and outraged that you're so alone on your awakening journey that you had no one hand holding you. But now, because you've grown and matured, you have loved yourself. You're not needing other people's support and attention and love, because you've already maintained it within yourself, because you've listened to all these sessions and realized how important and extremely crucial that honest self-love is, that then you can then tell your truth to your friends and family, how they must be able to start considering loving themselves. It is not about the conspiracies that we're wanting you to talk about. It is about self-empowering of love. You all ran thinking that we were trying to get you to expose the cabal or the hidden agendas and all the ridiculous 3D stuff that you get so obsessed with. And you haven't even considered for a minute that potentially we're just trying to say sheer love, sheer empowerment of love, and being unconditional loving beings to each other. You got so triggered with that last message, you completely forgot the fundamental basics of what spirituality is. We're not recruiting you to be conspiracy theorists in terms of what could be next under the craziness of humanity's agendas for each other to empower, disempower, and control and manipulate and add more fear-based information to each other, when you especially don't know how to talk about them in a metaphysical perspective of the purposes of why they needed to happen to awaken humanity. You always get stuck in the crimes and the victims, and you always get stuck in those emotions, and you can't get out and see the bigger purpose and lessons and principles of why. You all get tripped up on the reactions of it. You're addicted to the emotions and you seem to be reckless with them. Do you think that we have been able to make our point across, Erin, this time?
Indeed, absolutely. Thank you. I am hoping to understand a little bit clearer where everyone is at as far as people who are not, people are hesitant. I don't want to call them asleep, but I don't know what other term to use. Unaware. Are the people who have been unaware to this point, are they subconsciously aware in one way or another that change is on the horizon?
Everyone on this planet has had change, profound change within the last year. So they are sensing that big things are changing, and they know that things happen rapidly because they experienced the health, in quotation marks, crisis. So we understand from our perspective that many are on edge for new things to be changing and unfolding and evolving quite quickly. This is purposeful. We needed to break some habits and routines to create the new wave of change. You are all such routine-based lovers. It was needing to be an abrupt change for you to start considering other things. So yes, most people are still in that very open-minded state that change could happen abruptly. So remembering that those who are fully asleep and buying into everything that's on your news systems, because there are many that are diligently loyal to the mainstream media. They have uttermost belief and faith in that information because of journalism having to be of true integrity, because why else would it not? Of course, Erin, you know, and most of the people that we're talking to know that that is, at this point, the official mainstream media is promoting an agenda that is not always the best for humanity. And we say this sarcastically. So for those people who are following the agenda that is the most loudest on this planet at this time, they know that change is happening because they are forcing and wanting those around them to follow the narrative and the story that way. And so they are wanting people who are just reckless with their bodies and not following what the governments are saying. They're wanting those people to change their minds and be forced into this. And so they are wanting more control over people because they're effectively afraid of people being so reckless to have free will. So they are wanting this change. They're wanting more constrictions because they feel very comfortable in routine and rules and regulations because they believe in the systems. So right now they're feeling a little bit uncomfortable that there may be reckless people out there thinking for themselves and obviously not thinking correctly because they're not going with what the news is telling them. So everyone is seeing that there is room for change and change must occur. Either which way of the perception of what is true or not on this planet, everyone's still seeking change, which is a positive. It's an open to have hope for positive things, regardless of whether it's insane or not. That is still positive for hoping that better days are coming. And if someone needs to have hope that better days are coming where everyone's completely controlled, regardless of the agenda behind it, they have to have hope. Because if anyone loses hope, then that loses their vibration. They become completely dense on one of the most densest planets there is at this time that we're supervising. So can you see that you shaking someone who wants more control? This just adds to their irritation. They can't understand why their loved ones are not just obeying. Don't you understand that if you don't obey, then you're going to be ostracized? Because your government will see you as naughty. And we've all been trained to look at you as being naughty, says those people who are addicted to the news and trust blindly. So you have to understand it from their position, what is motivating them. And remember, regardless of the topics and the situation, it always comes down to emotions. So think about, why is someone reacting emotionally? And what are their needs? What are they trying to get? What would be their best case scenario for them to find their balance, to find their hope, and to be able to relax? Because everyone who's reacting is not able to relax and find their balance. And many of you listening are judging those who are blind. And so you're aggravating them and you're not giving them compassion and understanding what their motivations and what their needs are to help them with their emotions. We're not saying pander to them, remembering there is a massive difference between enabling people and empowering people and allowing others to have their feelings and be heard by you, regardless of whatever position they are firmly holding on to. You have to accept that of them, but you're not required to follow them. You should love yourself enough to know that you won't be wavered, and even the most deepest, darkest in fear person should never really trigger you, because you're so balanced with your self-love, and you know, and you're reassured who you are, what you know, that hearing other people in fear doesn't trigger you and make you react, except for compassion and love, which is not a reaction to it, but it's compassion. It is more love that flows out of you rather than judgment. anger, disgust. Many of you are still treating those who are different from you as lepers, shall we say. We want to bring in the analogy that Jesus gave you because it is still very applicable. Just because they're asleep doesn't mean they're lepers. Just because they don't believe in the new earth being a different planet doesn't make them lepers. Just because they don't believe that there isn't a virus doesn't make them lepers. So whatever they believe, it's none of your business to expose anything else, really. Support them with love. You don't have to agree with them, but you can't disrespect them. You can't dismiss them. And you certainly cannot just lower their vibrations and tell them that whatever reaction you're wanting to say to them, dismiss them. You must be neutral with every situation. But being human as you are, you react, you take it so personally that they have a different opinion than you. You must get outraged and then must hurt them back because you're so outraged with your emotions. Have you felt triggered yet? Or have you looked at your behaviors in the past and realized, oh, that was not my best responses? We're not wanting you to get stuck into the yesterdays of how you responded to your friends and families. You've grown from that. And even just listening to us now, you've grown from that approach. And so forgive those who reacted to you when you were running around freaking out about aliens coming to take you off this planet to evacuate you. Yes. We know that was a lot for people to process at the time. But we also know we've explained ourselves very well for those who are open to hearing why it is necessary and what is happening to this planet. And it's such a bigger conversation. You can't force anyone to listen to that content, because they're still trying to master their way through and out of the third dimensional emotions that they're so used to reacting and responding to and with. So telling people your truth, and when you see them reacting with emotions, you can observe and acknowledge their emotions. If they're talking to you about how scared they are and they're using very scared emotions, ask them what they're feeling and say, I am looking at you, and to tell you the truth, you're looking scared. Or I'm looking at you and I'm hearing what you're saying. To tell you the truth, you're reacting a certain way, a certain emotion. Telling them your truth. You're telling them how you're seeing them respond and react. You're also routinely used to reacting without thinking why you're even or how you're even reacting. I mean, what we want to tell you now is when people respond in anger, you take it as anger. You have to scratch out, what are they really reacting to and why? You may be surprised that some people's reactions that look like anger to you are actually really scared. They're so scared that they become in that fright mode, and they become angry because they're scared and confused. There's multiple layers in emotions. And often the first thing you judge and read can actually be incorrect, because that is just the emotion of the reaction. When you have to go to the root of the problem, it may be something quite different that you haven't even considered. This is why we've said don't react to reactions. This is why we've asked you to be balanced and neutral with these conversations and interactions with others. So then you can hear and see and question because you care about them and you're not reacting to them. So speaking your truth. You haven't told your friends and family that you have loved them in a long time. You haven't told them what they mean to you. Yes, you love telling them that you've pissed me off that day. You love telling them, I really was hurt when you said that to me. Yes, we know that you want to shame your friends and family when they hurt you the most. But because you love yourself so much and you've empowered yourself so much, why are you still holding on to that? So forgive them. Forgive them because you can. Forgive them because you choose to. And because you can forgive them because you want to release yourself from that resentment, that frustration. And you can also forgive yourself for all the times that you were scared and angry and all of those emotions, because you now can identify with them so profoundly when you are listening to others and when you're talking to others. You're not trying to mansplain how hard your life is and why you're pissed off that you're here on this planet and you've volunteered your time. Humans. It's tempting, and you probably have done it more than you probably want to admit. But being of service is to help others, listening to them, supporting them, not enabling them to be the victims, but asking them questions that make them stop and think about why they are reacting and behaving certain ways. Communicating through emotions is a whole nother language that you should be really fluent in understanding, but it's almost a foreign language to most, including yourselves. At one point or another, have we discussed this enough, or would you like us to continue?
That was wonderful. Thank you. As the bigger beings, is it now our responsibility to reach out to the people that we have inadvertently alienated ourselves from or distanced ourselves from because of the tension, because we love them and we want to be there for them? In order to do that, we have to be the person to extend our hand first so that they will be able to reach out when they are confused and in pain and in need of consoling.
Yes, because you've gotten over the fact that they weren't there for you when you were needing them, and you have healed yourself because you love yourself, and you don't actually need to have love from others to empower you, because that would be very self-serving of you to expect others to love you, because you can fully do it for yourself. And of course, we're not saying don't allow others to love you, but don't allow others to love you in replace of loving yourself. Use your energy to love yourself, not hunt out others to do it for you. It doesn't work that way. But we understand many people are confused about that. So your question to us is, should you go back and be kind to people? Please do. Please do. Respect others. Respect the lessons they gave you. You can be the bigger person, the bigger being, and you can be able to hear and tap into them, reach into them, see how they're reacting and responding to the world. They may be so bloody scared that they just need to share it because it's eating them up inside, because they don't know what is making sense to them anymore. Because they may be starting to be half awake to being lied to and manipulated and controlled, and that is scary. That is when they need their light worker friends. That is when you feel the most alone. It is like you've woken up to a horrible nightmare, which you don't want to believe, you don't want to see. You keep trying to go back to sleep because it's just horrific, but then you're too scared to sleep because you don't know what you could buy into and be tricked into next. So you are diligently trying to stay awake and see the new world around you. And you don't find that you have very many friends left or family that are willing to talk to you for whatever reasons. They just seem to have left the planet. And so, yes, reaching out to those people that just pop into your mind would be very kind. It could just simply be a message, a written message of love and best wishes. That is it. You're more mature than what you sometimes limit yourself with. You're worried that you'll be rejected. That is fine. If they don't respond back, that is fine. You love yourself so much that you can cope with it, but you know at least you've tried to be of service to them, to be a friend, to treat them like a kind person that you are. If they're still resentful, great. Have that conversation. It will not trigger you, right? It will not bother you, right? Because you can own it. Oh, yes, I was very passionate about my learning about this stuff. We're not saying don't lie to them about the agendas that awoken you, but read the room. You're not trying to trigger them, but you know what triggering can do. But when you're neutral and listening to them and having a conversation with them, they're going to be very more open up to you because you don't react. So then they can be able to do their own truth, even if it is accusatory, even if they're trying to sell you fear. Listen to it. Oh, that's very interesting. Yes, I can understand why you'd be afraid of that. Call it for what it is. Say your truth. You know what the emotions are. Say what it looks like to you. Call them out on their responses and reactions and make them think about how they're speaking to you. Telling your truth and being of service to others doesn't mean putting up with their shit. You're allowed to say, I would like to be respected for my feelings like I'm respecting you for yours. If you have to explain that out to them, you can talk to them like the people, like they are your friends that you care about. You don't have to pretend. Of course, we're not saying rush to every single person you've ever met in your entire life, because some relationships need to be ended when they did. You will know the difference.
Thank you. Are there any messages or guidelines that you'd like to give us on what we should do to be of assistance once public disclosure does happen?
Emotions need to be in balance and check, and that is your role to help support others do the same. Acknowledging.
In a previous session, apologies.
Acknowledging your feelings, acknowledging other people's feelings, and making sure you understand what their feelings are, getting them to own their feelings is very healthy for them. You all treat emotions and talking about emotions as if it's your private parts. We don't want you to keep them so private anymore. We want you to own your truth of your feelings.
Thank you. In a previous session of mine, there was a mentioning of by being around other people, we speed up their activation or we help activate them. Could you tell me what that means?
Mm-hmm. So because you're higher vibrational than you were, say, a few months ago, when just not just by your demeanor, but actually your physical energy. And so when they are connected in with you, they are noticing the difference between who they believed you were and are used to and versus the new you. So they will notice there is a difference. It's almost like you've had an extreme haircut. They don't quite want to, but it's invisible to them. So they can't really put into place why Erin looks different, but she feels different. And that is going to be the same. So they will be, they will see when you message them, oh, her, whatever that could be. And then when they reach out, you know, and you actually have a verbal conversation. And we say the verbal conversations are the best because you have changed so much, Erin, but when you write, hi, my friend, how are you doing today? I hope the kids are well, X, Y, and Z in conversations, they're going to be reading it from the old Erin's point of view. So it will be bulldozery if we want to just totally label you and you know what we're saying. So we say try to talk face to face with people verbally. It doesn't have to be physically. It can be on phone calls and Zoom conferences and that kind of experience, because then they don't have the opportunity to add their own belief systems of who you are, because they haven't been updated with who you are. So they're still replaying the old Erin in their minds. You are not the old Erin. You will never be back again that old Erin. Even though sometimes you think, oh, it could have been nicer. I could have enjoyed that a little bit more, because now what I know, it has a lot more responsibility to it and a lot more emotions that you're having to master. Are we right?
Yeah.
So being able to acknowledge your growth and saying it's been an epic experience of time. It feels like you haven't reached out for your friends for so long. You know, you're really looking forward to having a conversation with them, inviting them in for a conversation. And maybe too soon for them, but you know, however they respond is really none of your business in terms of if they're ready or not. So don't take it personally. Just know that it could actually be just a nice gesture for you and for them to be able to go, oh, she wants to message me. No, I'm going to be in control of that and just ghost her. That is completely fine. But you have given them a boost, especially when you acknowledge the fun things that you like about them or the kind things you can see in them. And so, you know, that could just be a boost of their day, even if they don't acknowledge that to you or can never acknowledge that to you. So, you know, just be mindful that they may not respond and you be okay with that. But you are doing it not just for brownie points for us. You are doing it to genuinely care about that person. And so, you know, we see many people just doing things thinking that that's going to impress us when there is no true integrity of helping others. It is like those who donate money, take photos of themselves donating the money and then share on all their platforms because they're wanting attention for being donating of the money. It was never truly about the money going to a good cause. It was only done for the attention of being a kind person to donate money. So be careful of your actual intent of why you are doing things. Is it to impress others? Or is it to make you look like a good person? Or are you being truthful about your agenda to help others and be of service? Those people who brag about what they do for humanity often are talking themselves up, and the actual reality of what they're doing, there is no true agenda there. We see all, so there's no point trying to impress us.
Awesome, thank you. that was the end of my public questions. Do you have any final comments or thoughts for us?
Did we tell you recently that we love you and that we know that we don't have to keep telling you that we love you because you so are complete with loving yourself that you don't need it? Because it's like, oh, yeah, but I'm all full up with love. Thanks. Give it to someone else in need.
Thank you. That's very sweet. Well, I do appreciate the air show, though. So thank you.
You're welcome. But we also saying it to everybody. We, of course, love you. We give you so much of our energy and time. And we support you in more ways than you'll ever know in the perspective of where you are now. And yet you're so still bitter and hurt by even some of the things we have said. Nothing we have said was to make you upset and hurt you and make you feel like we aren't here to support you and empower you. We have done nothing but try to help you. And we have tried very many different ways to get that point across. But with those people who have a bigger shell of ego that think that we're not talking to you directly about your lack of self-service, we very much are talking to you. And those times that you have been genuine of service to others and yourself, we want to acknowledge you, not because we have to, but because we want to. We understand the density of this planet. We understand your challenges. And many of you think that we're oblivious to how hard it is while you're in your victim mode status, reacting to us, complaining to us. We see all, we understand. You've had our tough love, and you've also had our genuine empowerment love. And sometimes you need duality to grow. And we've given you much to think about. And we ask you now to be of service to humanity at this crucial time, because you will look back at your choices and you will see that there was always room for improvement. And so do not regret what your choices in the past were. Just be diligently mindful of them now, moving forward. You'll be tremendous. You'll make a tremendous impact on humanity when you do.